What is up, folks, and welcome to the BJT show where I talk about sports, media, and such things. I'm your host, Byron, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about how I started my own football camp and how the first one went. So, let's get it. A bit of background: I was a part of two state championship winning teams in high school as a football player, and I was a part of a championship winning coaching staff as a football coach. So I have three rings in all, three championships total, and I think that's really cool to be a state champion football player, but to also be a champion as a football coach. And that championship came in my first year of coaching football. So I was a 20-year-old college student, and I was coaching football at the same time, and I was a part of a championship winning staff. So I think that's really cool, especially because I love the game of football, and people have kind of told me a lot that I could be a really good coach, and I think I'm a really good coach. Of course, I got to get better as a coach. There's always room for improvement, but I think that's really cool. Not many people can say that they're a state champion as a player or a champion as a coach. I think it's really cool to be a part of that. And those championships came at the high school that I played football at. So I played football there and was a part of some state championship winning teams, and I coached football there and was a part of a championship, coaching staff also. But I did have some offers to play college football, but I only played college football for a very short amount of time. If you want to know more about that, then check out the episode that I have on my podcast about my college football recruiting journey. So I break all that down in that episode. But moving on into football camps. So I participated in a lot of football camps as a player. I've been to UGA, the University of Georgia, for their Dog Night football camp. I've been to North Carolina, University of North Carolina. I've been to North Carolina State, Clemson, Wake Forest. I don't think Duke, but I've been to the University of Florida for football camps also, and I think it was really cool to, go to football camp at the University of Florida, especially being that I'm a Florida Gator football fan. So shout out to the University of Florida and basketball too. They won the championship in basketball this past college basketball season. So shout out to the Gators. Much love to them. So I kind of have a general idea of how football camps work, right? And so I've also worked at different camps that incorporated sports, even though it wasn't sports specific. But I've also worked at different camps that were sports specific, like football, basketball. Not really basketball, but mainly just football. But I've been around different basketball camps, football camps, and just sports camps in general. I've worked at. That's the point, right? So that's that. But I wanted to have my own football camp. So getting into that, back in 2018, I tweeted that I wanted to have my own football camp one day and just talk about inspiration, encouragement, talk about football and the values of football and just sports in general, like good teamwork, leadership, and those sorts of things. And I tweeted that back in 2018, but I kind of just tweeted it. It was a goal that I had, but it wasn't really something that I was actively trying to put in motion until later. Fast forward to 2025, I signed with Med Agency Sports for marketing. And so Med Agency helped me with the logistics of my football camp. And so my football camp is called the BJT Inspire Football Camp. BJT is my brand. And inspiration really means a lot to me. That's a value per se that I think is really big. I think it's a really big deal, especially within sports and just in general. I think, inspiring and encouraging and motivating others, that is a really big deal to me. So I wanted my football camp to be named after that as well, since, BJT inspires pretty much my brand for the most part. So had that. So Med Agency Sports helped me with the logistics of the camp. So I was talking to Med Agency about the camp in February of 2025. I'm like, hey, I want to have a football camp. I need help with that. And they're like, okay, we can help you with that. So just getting like all the logistics together for the camp, like who's going to coach at the camp, where is the camp going to be, is there any media coming to the camp, and just getting all the logistics set up. So they did a really good job of helping me with that. So shout out to them. But all the details of the camp were sort of ironed out within a few weeks, but really like 5 days. Like majority of the details were ironed out in about 5 days before I started the marketing for the camp and promotion for the camp. The camp flyer went out on March 1st, 2025, but a few days before that is really when all the details of the camp were really ironed out. So the camp was March 23rd, 2025 at Mount Bethel Christian Academy. So shout out to Mount Bethel Christian Academy. So the camp was held there. And so some of the coaches that were at the camp and coaching at the camp were Latavius Brenny, who used to play safety at the University of Georgia. He was on that national championship winning team also. Played really well there. He went to Arkansas, then he went to the NFL, played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was there. Quincy Carter was coaching at the camp as well. He was coaching the quarterbacks. He used to play for the University of Georgia also, and he played in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. He used to play quarterback, so he was helping out with the quarterbacks. And my former high school teammate, Sean Queen, who played receiver, he used to play receiver at at Liberty University, play receiver there, and he was helping out with the camp also. So shout out to them. He's also my high school teammate, so shout out, but shout out to all the coaches who helped out with the camp. But there were also some coaches that weren't able to make it, like Tyson Graham Jr. He used to play for the Atlanta Falcons and Indianapolis Colts and in the UFL also. He used to play linebacker and safety. And he also coaches football too. So shout out to him. He wasn't able to make it, but shout out to him. And former Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jonathan Dwyer Sr. was supposed to come to the camp, but he didn't make it either. But shout out to him too. He coaches football as well. But yeah, got all them together and just, was pretty much talking to them about camp and how it's going to go, how it's going to be ran and everything like that. And they're like, okay, cool. I reached out to different people about coaching at the camp. And they're like, all right, cool. Let's get it. So I really appreciated that. And also reached out to a lot of media for the camp also. So I reached out to On3. They were there. 24/7 was there. American Football 365 was there. And some other freelance sports journalists were also there. Brian Jones from On3 was at the camp. Garrett Chapman from 24/7 Sports was at the camp. Victor Gordon from American Football 365 was at the camp. And there were also some freelance journalists at the camp as well, like Cheyenne Grano, who used to work for Bleacher Report. My friend Virgil Brandon was there helping out with media also. And my friend Tyler Russ, who does a lot of videography, photography for sports and such things. He was there also, so shout out to Tyler Russ. So y'all can check him out at tylereruss.com. Really good photographer, really good videographer. I've worked with him for a while now, so shout out to him. So I appreciate everybody who was helping out with the camp just overall. And shout out to Micah Hughes of Mount Bethel Christian Academy as well. He runs football over there, so shout out to him for letting me have my football camp there. So it was my first football camp, and about 19 or 20 players showed up to participate in the football camp. And it seemed like everybody was having fun. Coaches were having fun, players were having fun, parents were having fun. It was just a really good time overall. So, everybody gets there, and for the camp, I talked to them before the camp started, pretty much just telling them about the camp, how it's going to go, and just talking about football, stuff like that. That's how the camp got started. And then we get into the 40-yard dashes and then get into shuttle drill. Latavius and Sean Queen were helping out with that, and Major Brown, who used to play football at Mount Bethel Christian Academy and Ohio University, was there helping out too also. So he was helping out with those drills, and then Quincy Carter was helping out with quarterback drills. There was a footwork circuit and one-on-ones. One-on-ones was really cool. It was getting really competitive. Everybody was getting hyped with one-on-one wide receiver, DB, or running back, linebacker, offensive line, defensive line, whatever. That was a good time. Everybody was having fun, competing. It was really nice, and the coaches were really having a lot of good time. I mean, they were really having a good time, and everybody was just energetic. There was a lot of good energy, and my whole thing was going into it. It's like, okay, well, regardless of if one person shows up for the camp or if 40 people show up for the camp, I'm going to still have a lot of energy. I'm going to still have fun and still try to be a good leader, inspire, motivate, encourage. That's kind of the main things about the camp. And yeah, speaking of that, so the main basis of the camp is inspiration, encouragement, motivation, being a good teammate, and all those sorts of things. And so just overall, the camp went really well. Brian Jones of On3 interviewed me after the camp, so that was cool. And like I was saying, parents are having fun, the players are having fun, coaches are having fun. I took some pictures after the camp. People were like, "Can I get a picture? Can I get a picture?" Some of the parents were like, "You want to take a picture? Can I get a picture?" I thought that was really cool. That was really nice. And Brian Jones of On3 interviewed me after the camp, and that was that. The camp was pretty much over. I wasn't able to have T-shirts for the camp because it was so short notice, but I'm hoping that for the next camp, I'll be able to have some BJT inspired football camp T-shirts. And one thing that stood out, or a few things stood out, but one of the players was saying, when's the next camp? Is this an every week thing? Like, when's the next camp? And I'm like, I'm not sure because this is just the first camp, so I'm not looking that far ahead. But I'm like, you know what? I should have some more football camps. So I plan on having some more football camps. But that was really cool. Like I was saying before, everybody was having a good time, and I even had BJT Inspired Football Camp wristbands. So Met Agency Sports helped out with that. So shout out to them getting the wristbands for the camp. But yeah, and so people were telling me like, dang, this is your first camp, and it was done really well. And speaking of media, so I was talking about different media being there. So like I was saying before, I did an interview with On3 after the camp. On3 wrote an article about it. Ryan Jones, On3 wrote an article about the football camp. Sportskeeda wrote an article about the football camp and interviewed me about it. And Sport Atlanta also interviewed me and wrote an article about the camp as well. So it was really cool. But just to see the positive impact that the camp had, and just all the good energy, and just everybody having a good time, and just we having my first football camp and achieving that goal, it was so cool. And I'm so blessed and just thankful for everybody who had a role in making the camp such a great event. It was my first football camp, and it was a good event. I've always wanted to have my own football camp, and it was so cool just to finally take that idea and actually turn it into something. So taking the idea of having my own football camp one day, and then I had my own football camp. So I thought it was so cool. And then it went really good for the first camp also. So I wanted to have my first camp and sort of get everything ironed out. Okay, like this is what I can do better. This is what we can do better for the next camp. It was just a good one overall. So I was very happy with that. I was very proud of everything. I just appreciate all the support and everybody who helped out with the camp, and just all the support for the camp. I was really happy about that, definitely. But yeah, that was that. A lot of good came from the camp, a lot of positive impact, and I just want to keep making an impact, inspiring and encouraging others, and just got to keep working. So that's kind of what I say. Just got to keep working, got to keep getting better. But like I was saying before, being an inspiration means a lot to me. Being a good leader, being a good teammate, whether it's in football or a professional setting in the workplace. I treat a lot of things like sports, but being a good teammate, being a good leader, motivator, encourager, and being motivating and encouraging means a lot to me. So I think that was something that came out of the football camp. So, but yeah, that's that. But that's it though. So hope y'all enjoyed this episode about my first football camp. I'm hoping to have some more football camps in the future. But yeah, but hope y'all enjoy the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. When you subscribe, click that notification bell. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BJT_era. Links in the description box. And also shout out to all the sponsors. Shout out to E3 Protein. Shout out to ZipChair. I'll have all those, links and promo codes in the description box. If y'all want some E3 protein bars, check them out. And if y'all want, a gaming chair and everything at a discount, check ZipChair out also. But yeah, that's that. But I hope y'all have a good one. Peace out.